YouTube today. We got a lot to talk about. We're talking about Jake Paul. We're talking about Canelo. If you saw the thumbnail, we're coming in live. We're talking about something important today because, look, let's face it. Jake Paul has come from basically Disneyland, right? Basically, the world of like Disneyland, um, fictional characteristics, living in a world that a lot of people maybe not had the chance to live in at a young age, growing up, a star from the Disney perspective, and then gets out there and wants to get out there and fight some big time people. And he's called some big time people out, and he's got some decent fights. A lot of people would argue that Jake Paul just simply does that, like doesn't fight boxers, right? That's like the conversation I want to have today with people coming to the live stream right now. A lot of people would let me fix the cameras here. A lot of people would argue that Jake Paul is not fighting big time boxers, or Jake Paul has never fought a real boxer, or Jake Paul only fights UFC fighters, or Jake Paul only fights people that aren't on that level. But I'm here to explain a couple things that I think is more important than people understand. Boxing comes down to more than just getting a fight, more than just training. Boxing comes down to money at this point. Fighting comes down to money at this point. Even when we go to, if you want to talk about UFC, if you want to talk about bare knuckle, if you want to talk about boxing, if you want to talk about the fights and you go back to Mayweather and you keep going on about Manny Pacquiao, and then you can even go to obviously like Mike Tyson and Larry Holmes and Evander Holyfield and all these other boxers. I'm not leaving any out purposely. I'm just telling you that the name of the game right now comes down to money. You're watching this live right now, coming to the chat. Who would win in a fight, Canelo or Jake Paul? Put in the chat right now who you think actually would win, number one. And I put the polls out there to see, why do you think that Canelo backed out the fight? Is it because it wasn't worth his time? Is it because he's scared of Jake Paul? Is it because he could kind of derail his, career a little bit? Right? Like, these are conversations that we got to have right now, because people that are watching this, people that are watching boxing, big boxing fans, if you want to call it like that, or big fight fans, big bets that are being placed, all Las Vegas, people watching boxing around the world. People legit wanted to see this fight for different reasons. A lot of people want to see this fight because they want to see Jake Paul get knocked out, right? A lot of people want to see this fight because they think that this could be a big money make fight. Obviously, Jake Paul stepping in the ring has nowhere near the kind of experience that Canelo has, but Jake Paul is winning fights. Jake Paul has won consistently. He's lost a single fight, and that fight honestly was very close. So now you look at the grand scheme of things, look at the line of fighters of who Jake Paul actually fought, right? So if I go online right now and I type in Jake Paul fights, like, who did he fight? The list of fighters that he had, right? It says on here, what, 9, 10, but he lost to Tommy Fury. That was the only fight that he lost that was close. And that was probably the best fighter that he's fought. But he's fought some big time people. And we look at those opportunities that he got. Anderson Silva, a fight that you're like, you know what? Okay, not a boxer, but still a good fighter, has done very well in his life in fighting. And then you put him out there and have the opportunity to fight Jake Paul to make some money out there. And that's what they did. They went out there, get a chance to get some fights going. If you're joining us today, who would win in a fight, Jake Paul or Canelo? Drop it in the chat right now who you think would actually win, Jake Paul or Canelo. And people are like, why did he back out? Why did Canelo back out? Why did Canelo just say, you know what, I'm not taking this fight? A lot of it is because Canelo's like, has Jake Paul built up that opportunity to fight against me, right? But then it's about money. If you're fighting right now, you have a legacy to prove. You have a legacy, I get it. And then you have opportunities to continue your career. Then you have opportunities to fight other people that have been fighting for a long freaking time. If you're just joining us on live stream right now, in the live stream right now, who would win the fight, Jake Paul or Canelo? Drop it in the chat right now. Jake Paul or Canelo. Put it in the live stream who you think would win in a freaking fight, and hit that like button right now. I'm telling you why Canelo backed out for the reasons that he did when it was lined up, and Jake Paul was furious because this was the biggest fight of Jake Paul's life. This was the biggest opportunity for Jake Paul to step into a big stage, and if he were to beat Canelo, people would have to start saying Jake Paul is a boxer. Jake Paul is a fighter. And regardless of the weight at this point, it's just the position in which you look at it and you go, Jake Paul has never been given an opportunity like this. To sign that contract to fight against Canelo, not only was it a big time payday, was a chance for Jake Paul to take his career next level. Right? Like, he fights Canelo, he could fight anybody at that point. If he gets a Canelo fight, he's literally able to fight anybody. RB is coming to the building. How you doing? Roger's in the chat. Nathan's in the chat. We got some more people we're going to let come into the live stream in just 1 second. As we come into the building, hit that like button. We're going to run it up right now. We're talking why Canelo backed out of the Jake Paul fight. We're talking a fight that would have made a lot of money, okay? And I get it. Canelo's going to make a lot of money whoever he fights at this point, right? Obviously, I understand that. I do get that Canelo's going to say, you know what? I'll fight this guy. I'll fight that guy. People are going to pay to watch it. Mexico, his entire fan base across the world are going to watch the fight. He chose to fight overseas. You know, what is it, like Saudi Arabia or something like that? Overseas. I'm telling you right now that Canelo had the opportunity to get a massive payday because everybody wants to see this fight. Why? Because they want to see Jake Paul. They want to see Jake Paul get knocked out, truthfully. A lot of people want to see Jake Paul get knocked out. I bet his ex-girlfriend wants to see him get knocked out. I'm just saying I want to see a good fight. And I'm not saying that Jake Paul is on the same level, but I will tell you this. It's not like Jake Paul is still a Disney character. It's not like Jake Paul is not training all the time. Jake Paul is training consistently. Jake Paul has knocked out plenty of people. Jake Paul has won many fights. Jake Paul has not beaten the greatest boxers of all time, but Jake Paul has beat consistently fighters that you would arguably say, hey, this person will put up a fight. If you're watching a live stream right now, who would win the fight, Jake Paul or Canelo? Drop it in the chat right now. I seen RB said, Jake Paul, good quality. Is he a President Trump fan? Yes, he is a big-time Trump fan. Jake Paul is a massive Trump fan. By the way, he fought Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a big-time Trump fan. People that are coming into the live stream right now, I greatly appreciate you coming to the chat. You know we love and appreciate everybody coming into the building right now. Makeup Filters, how are you doing? Welcome to the live stream. We love and appreciate you. We got people that are going to be coming here right now. I'm going to start letting the floodgates open for people to come in and start talking shit about this fight. Because Canelo had it signed. Canelo had it lined up. Canelo had a big-time payday coming up. But the problem is, Canelo's going to get paid regardless, right? Will he get paid? I honestly think the Jake Paul fight would bring in more money. But I understand the principle behind this is Jake Paul's like, look, I'll take this fight because I need this fight. Canelo's like, I don't need this fight. And if I lose to Jake Paul, his career is basically over. Even if Jake Paul was the greatest fighter of all time, Canelo's going to really go down in history like I was the best, and then I lost to Jake Paul, a Disney character. And that's still hindering the mentality of people until they get in the ring and they start getting hit by Jake Paul. That's the reality right now. I'm taking it right now. Roger said, always go with the pro, but I really didn't follow. And that's the thing. Jake Paul was giving him a big-time payday. We're talking $100 million or more. People coming to the live stream right now, hit that like button, subscribe. It's your first time watching. We're talking Canelo. We're talking Jake Paul. Who would win in a fight, Jake Paul or Canelo? Most people would say Canelo because Canelo is a pro. Canelo has been boxing for a long time. Canelo has tons of accolades. Canelo is the guy that was, arguably the best boxer right now that's boxing, walking, one of them, right? So if you look at Jake Paul and go, oh, Jake Paul from Disney, Jake Paul has built a career in every facet. So here's what I'm here to tell you. A lot of people obviously hate on Jake Paul, right? A lot of people do. I'm just not one of them. The reason why I don't hate on him is because he went to Disney, did it to the fullest extent. Good for him. Went to boxing, going as fullest extent as he can. Good for him. And he looks the part now. When he first showed up, it was like, Jake Paul, YouTuber, Disney, just wants to get, a fight, try to make some money. That's not true anymore. Jake Paul is training, moved his whole life to Puerto Rico, was in California, living in a beautiful mansion out there, moved to Puerto Rico to build his whole life around the sport of boxing. Some of the best trainers in the world, some of the best people working with him, running with him, working on his jabs, working on his hooks, working on uppercuts, working on stamina, working on all the cardio. Everything that he was doing out there is really around boxing. Not to mention, let me fix my camera for a second. Hold on. Not to mention, his brother is also a tough SOB too, right? Like, let's not forget, Logan Paul is also a tough son of a bitch too. So now he fights his brother growing up too. We can't forget that. And now his brother's like kind of looking at it going, man, I'm losing my little brother's claim to fame here is picking these boxers. The Mike Tyson fight was hard to watch because Tyson for the first minute was like, oh, Tyson might really do something. Then all of a sudden, Tyson was like, I'm done. And I think that was kind of awkward because I don't know. I do believe that obviously as you get older, you can't hang with the young cats at 60 years old, whatever. But at the end of the day, it was like he kind of just gave up on it, really, right? Like he just kind of gave up on the fight. And in the second round, at least come out and do something. Like even if you don't, do what Mike Tyson that we know, it would be great to see actually a fight right now in the ring versus someone who's kind of getting in there, messing around, BSing, and not really fighting. That's my opinion. You took this fight, made a shit ton of money. And so a lot of people coming into the chat right now. People like, let me see right now. Pitbull Mama said, I dislike the Paul brothers. And then Roger said he is a businessman, business boxer. That's what I'm saying. Look, being a businessman in the sport of boxing is smart. When you get done, you got freaking money. Roger said, how about Paul versus Paul? That's the other thing. Jake Paul, versus brother Logan Paul. That'd be great to watch, but I think people are going to be like, are they going to go hard enough? I think they actually might. Like, they got the personalities where they really might try to both win the fight. But I think that when it comes down to it, watching Canelo, Jake Paul, that's going to be a fight that people want to see. You want to see someone trying to knock each other out. And I think, realistically, Canelo had a chance to make a shit ton of money against Jake Paul, and people would have loved it. The sport of boxing would have been like, oh, he doesn't really deserve it. But at the end of the day, people want to see fights. People want to see money. People want to see Jake Paul's production. They want to see the Jake Paul highlights. They want to see what Jake Paul does coming to the ring. Is he going to come out riding a horse? Is he going to come out running? Is he going to come out bear crawling? Is he going to come out doing cartwheels? Like, Jake Paul is an entertainer. The sports nowadays are about entertainment. Football back in the day, it was football. It was tough nose, a little bit of dancing going on. Deion Sanders, prime time. One of those guys did some stuff back in the day. You had the Dirty Bird. You had some stuff. But that was very few far in between. It was football. Now it's entertainment. Any sport. Hockey, people are looking for hockey fights. You go to basketball, you're watching it. Basketball, you're watching basketball. That's one of the sports where, the alley-oops and all that, it's entertaining, but it's not like the other sports. Football, the dancing. When they get a pick six, they'll run to the end zone, now take a picture. When you watch boxing now, I cannot wait to see the entrance. I cannot wait to see how Jake Paul walks out to the arena. If you're watching Canelo, I can't wait to see how Canelo walks out to the ring. If you're watching John Jones in UFC, you can't wait to see how John Jones comes out, spinning around, looking around. John Jones, the entertainers, bringing it to you live. That is what fire shooting out as they're walking down, smoke shooting. Like, that's what boxing has become. Boxing is about what can you deliver for entertainment value. If nobody wants to see you really, if people just want to see the box, but they don't want to see anything, it takes away from the sport now because the intro, the song you select, people are like, oh, what song was that? Oh, I'm going to go download that song. Like, now it's a chance for people to use marketing. You got hip hop artists walking out with the mic singing. You got people coming out. The whole sport of boxing has changed drastically. That's all I'm saying. Let me move this up right now so I can read some of these messages. Give me 1 second here. People coming into the chat right now. How you doing? Hey, well, how you doing? Let me read this right now. I can't, is it in Spanish? Pia Pinche Canelo. But you, sir, are correct. Jake's an entertainment, and people can talk all the shit they want, but they pay to see him. That is 100% correct. Jake Paul, you're 100% correct. Jake Paul is an entertainer. He does what he's got to do to get out there and box. He does what he's got to do to make paydays. He does what he's got to do to get his opponent paid. He does what he's got to do to make the sport of boxing something that people have to turn on. Pay-per-view, then it was DAZN, then it was Netflix. He is just bringing the excitement. Why do you think DAZN was like, we got to cover Jake Paul? Why do you think Netflix like, we got to cover Jake Paul? That's why. And good morning to all you guys. Tracy, Roger, Abel coming into the building right now. Pitbull, Mama in the chat. Nathan, Makeup Filters, how you doing? RB, how are you guys doing in the live stream right now? Real quick in the chat. Who would win in a fight? Canelo or Jake Paul? Everybody put in the chat right now. Canelo or Jake Paul? Drop it in there right now. There's a lot of people that are listening back home. A lot of people put on their phones, mobile devices, and they're at work and they're listening. I got the votes in the chat right now. People, the poll is out there. Why did Canelo back out of the Jake Paul fight? And you can vote right now. Is it because he thought that it wasn't worth his time? Or was he scared of Jake Paul? Let's be honest. Jake Paul could change your career by derailing your opportunities for the future. If Canelo gets beat by Jake Paul, excuse me, he'll lose fan base, obviously. He'll lose fan base, and that won't work out, right? All right, so we got to block Logan. We don't want to have racial slurs in there. You can, moderator can hide Logan from the chat. We don't want to have that because whoever he's making fun of in that, we don't want to see that. Make sure we remove that. People coming to the live stream right now, if you're watching it, Jake Paul, Canelo, who is the fighter that you believe would actually be someone, that you believe would actually be a good fighter? Who do you believe would be like in terms of in the ring? Because Jake Paul might turn it to a craziness. Jake Paul might make Canelo get out of his game a little bit frantic. I don't know. Canelo's been on some big stages, right? Canelo's been on some big time stages. But the thing is, Jake Paul brings a different dynamic. More of just a wild, rough around the edges kind of person that comes to, if you want to say, comes into it. And when I'm watching these fighters, I'm watching the growth opportunities. Canelo is at the highest peak. Can Canelo get higher? Can Canelo get even higher? Not real. I mean, it's like he could win another fight, but Canelo's people are like, Canelo, one of the best ever. Mayweather, one of the best ever. Pacquiao, one of the best ever. Like they're on those stages. Jake Paul is desperate for a big time fight. And here's the problem. Move this mic. Here's the problem. Everybody's like, well, Jake Paul, at the end of the day, I see Vaughn's in the building said, no way Jake Paul could win that match. And so here's what I'm thinking right now. And that might be true. Here's what I'm thinking right now, though. What I don't like is how many people will hate on Jake Paul and say he doesn't fight boxers. But he's trying, right? Like, it's not like Jake Paul wakes up and goes, I'm going to fight that guy. He sucks. I'm going to fight that guy. He's not good. I'm going to fight that guy who I know I can win. He's picking people that he doesn't really know. Like, he's just trying to get fights. He didn't know he was going to be Anderson Silva. He didn't know he was going to be like Mike Tyson, obviously, at this age is a little harder, right? Coming to there is I get what that's going on. But at the end of the day, when you're watching these big time fights, I would like to see Jake Paul take a MMA fight, which he's been talking about. That will make millions. If Jake Paul gets into the ring and fights like Conor McGregor in UFC or MMA or bare knuckle, if he takes one of those kind of fights, you're going to see a payday like you've never seen in your life. I'm just saying, people coming to live stream right now, who would you want, literally in the chat, Canelo or Jake Paul, people? Canelo or Jake Paul? Who would win the fight in Canelo or Jake Paul? Drop that in the chat right now. I'm just trying to get an idea. Some people actually believe that Jake Paul would win. A lot of people are saying Canelo, and I get Canelo has all the history and the fame and the training and the experience and all of that. Jake Paul comes into it with a little rough around the edges, Disney character, YouTuber, moved his whole life to Puerto Rico for the sport of boxing. He's hired the best trainers. He's hired the best people that provide the food. He's hired the best training for conditioning and cardio, all that. He's hired everything you could possibly do. He's got the lifestyle most people want. He's got the better lifestyle than probably 99% of boxers. You have people like Canelo and Mayweather who live a great life. But when you look at the whole grand scheme of things and you watch what's going on, Jake Paul's an entertainer. He's going to get you paid. If you could sign up fight Jake Paul, you don't got to fight again. You could fight Jake Paul and never fight again if you're just chasing dollar signs. That's all I'm saying. If you're chasing dollar signs, you can fight Jake Paul and retire after fighting Jake Paul because you're going to make $100 million. I know Canelo, it's not about money for Canelo. I get it. It's not just about money. And so at the end of the day, the whole point is he wants to get out there. Jake Paul wants to get a fight, and Canelo just wants to continue his legacy. Let's go. Tyron Legacy said, get himself flattened with Canelo, and his matchmakers know he beat them guys. But credit to him, he still got to execute. That's what I'm saying. Like Jake Paul is still trying to get these fights. A lot of people that actually hate Jake Paul are still going to watch the fight. Let me be clear about that. People that hate Jake Paul go, oh, he sucks at boxing. They're watching it. I bet you there's a lot of other shitty boxers out there that you're not putting on TV. There's a shitty boxer out there that you will never put on your television. Jake Paul is one of those people you're going to put the freaking TV on when Jake Paul fights because he's an entertainer. He brings viewership. He brings money. and he brings interesting fights. Mike Tyson, to me, yeah, I watched it. Did I really want to watch it? At first, I was like, come on now. He said, but then I'm like, you know what? Maybe Jake Paul will meet his match. Mike Tyson gets in and gets a couple hits in there. He might not realize, holy shit, this is what real boxing feels like. So I put this shit on. Now Jake Paul would fight Canelo. You might say in your mind he's going to get dropped by Canelo, and then you're going to go, I got to watch the fight. Whether it's $80, $50, $40, or you find a way to stream it for free, you're going to watch the fight. People that want to see the fight, people that want to see Canelo, people that want to see Jake Paul get knocked out, all these things are going to happen. So I'm just saying, was it worth it for Canelo to watch or not? Let's see what Vaughn said. But that Mike Tyson thing made it feel like he thinks the sport is a joke. Canelo is about to fight Crawford. That's a real fight. Canelo not afraid to lose. He lost before. He really likes to fight. I agree. That's the truth, Vaughn. Like Canelo really is taking a fight that he actually thinks is actually tougher in his mind. I bet you he thinks that Crawford is going to be a much tougher fight, Terrence Crawford. And I think that's the reality. He thinks it's a tougher fight. But he also knows the payday is going to be good either way. Jake Paul can derail his entire boxing situation. If Canelo gets beat by Crawford, Canelo can come back and fight Crawford again. Canelo can go fight somebody else. Canelo can keep on going. But if he gets beat by Jake Paul, people watching right now, smack that like button if you're coming to the chat right now. If we get to 10 likes in the next 30 seconds, I'll let someone get $100 in the live stream. Double tap the screen to the like button. We're talking Canelo. We're talking Jake Paul. And we talk sports entertainment on here. We talk NFL most of the time. So we get to basketball on here during these topics, or boxing, a little slow to get people interested in what we're talking about. But we got to dive into it. We got to talk about major conversation because this shit's important. People watching this right now, you got to understand. You've never seen in your life the change of how boxing is going, the change of how golf is going, the change of how UFC, bare knuckle, football, change in rules and regulations, how things go. Reviews. They didn't have reviews back in the day. They got review boost now. They got XYZ times you can reviews. They got injury timeout. All these things are going on. I mean, there's all these different changes going on in the sport. And when you go to boxing, Jake Paul is going to come out into the arena doing some outlandish shit, right? Jake Paul is going to come out there and you're going to want to know, I got to see the entrance. You don't got to watch Canelo's entrance. You don't even really, does anybody really care? Honestly, does anybody really care about Canelo's entrance? You just want to see Canelo fight. I want to see Canelo fight. I'm going to watch the fight. But if I missed his walkout game, I don't give a damn if I missed Canelo's walkout game. I don't care if I missed him coming out to the, and I know he does his whole song and he dedicates his whole life to Mexico and much appreciation to that. And I think it's wonderful. And I'm not hating on that whatsoever. I think it's amazing. I'm not saying that the walkout's bad. But what I'm saying is I could go without watching Canelo's walkout and just watch the fight. If I miss Jake Paul's walkout, I'm going to rewind it because I want to see what the hell he did. Now, a lot of people would say, no, I'm not doing that. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm rewinding to see what the hell this man did on the walkout. I'm just saying. And you saw him knock. Jake Paul has knocked out some decent fighters. Maybe not boxers. Maybe not big. People keep calling my phone right now. I'm live on the live stream. People call my phone all the time. I got to put on Do Not Disturb. Look, people coming to the chat right now. Where are you based? Drop your state in the chat right now. Drop your city in the chat, people. Because I got some people. I'm going to open up the floodgates right now. Some people to come into the building. I'm going to start letting some more people in. Put your city, put your state in the chat. And make sure you hit that like button, everybody. I'm going to drop mine in the chat. I'm out here in Miami. It's freaking hot as shit already. I can't lie. It's freaking hot already. It is hot already. Hit that like button, everybody. Run this shit up. I'm going to let some people in here. People talking Canelo. People talking about Jake Paul. And I'll tell you what. Here's what I will tell you about Jake Paul. Let's get back to this for a second. You might hate Jake Paul. A lot of people might hate Jake Paul or dislike what he's doing or not be happy about how he acts or, not like his personality or whatever. But we have to say something. Jake Paul has showed a lot of people there we go. We're back in action here. I got to keep on hitting the damn Do Not Disturb on these people. Jake Paul has done some things that a lot of people wish they would have done. And again, if I freeze up for a second, it's because I keep getting calls on the mobile device. I'm not using my studio right now. I'm using my mobile phone. People can say what they want about Jake Paul for a lot of reasons. You can hate him, you can love him, whatever. But when you look at someone who was in Disney, remember, this kid was also a wrestler at a young age. So he went to the Disney Channel But his background with his brother and stuff was also in wrestling. He got some experience with wrestling and getting mentally tough or whatever. Then he leaves the Disney Channel and becomes this massive YouTuber. We're talking pranks and a whole bunch of shit. So he was used to the media attention, like all eyes on me kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is he wanted eyes on him, eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me. So he went to the sport of boxing, probably because his brother was beating the shit out of him growing up. So he went to the sport of boxing and he gave that a chance. But he didn't just give it a chance. Like Jake Paul took this on in a way, and that's why I always give him a little bit of praise because he's done this in a way that a lot of people in the world would not do. Like, if you have the opportunity to become a fighter, are you going to take it to the fullest extent? Are you going to get out there and train? Are you going to move your whole life to Puerto Rico, another freaking country, another place or whatever? Sorry, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. But let's just say you move to Puerto Rico, you move your whole life outside of California, you had a mansion out there to become a boxer. Now, you leave your family behind, friends behind, a bunch of shit, and you become a real boxer and start taking real fights and you create business. Alex in the chat said it would be embarrassing for Canelo. Are you saying, Alex, that it's embarrassing for him to take the fight, or are you saying that Canelo would actually embarrass him? Or are you saying Jake Paul would embarrass him? What are you saying about that? I should be clear about that, Alex. What are you saying? And what I mean by this is he took an opportunity to go fight that a lot of people would not have done. Let's be honest. He did. And then he built businesses. He's got Better, the sports betting application, right? He's got his, what is it? The most whatever production, this shit that he's got where he's bringing in athletes right now. He's signing people. He's got like an agency going on. The promotions he's doing. Like he's building opportunities for other fighters. He's doing his best to get the UFC to give all the health care. He goes, come on, if I beat Anderson Silva, you got to give health care or XYZ to these fighters. Like he's brought a lot of shit. You guys agree with me? Put a Y in the chat right now if you agree with what I'm saying. Put a Y in the chat right now if you agree with what I'm saying. Because whether you love him or you hate him, he's bringing some serious opportunities. You know, Crawford is a real threat. Yes, he is. Terrence Crawford is a real threat. Agreed. He is. Terrence Crawford is going to bring the heat. He's going to bring the ruckus. He's going to be someone that Canelo better come correct or he can lose any given moment. I agree 1,000% that Crawford is a better fighter. I agree that Canelo and Crawford are a whole nother level than Jake Paul. Yes. But there comes a point in time where you go, I've done everything. Why not fight Jake Paul? Jake Paul is going to put you on a big stage. Instead of fighting over in Saudi Arabia or whatever, you can fight right in the U.S., maybe Madison Square Garden. Maybe fight somewhere like that and make it the biggest production you've ever seen in your life so you can get in there and maybe embarrass Jake Paul and show that you're the kind of fighter that people didn't realize that you could be. And guess what? Everyone knows that Jake Paul, that Canelo is a better fighter. But really get out there and work on your game. If Canelo worked on his craft and was just showing how he's embarrassing Jake Paul in every possible way, Jake Paul would also realize, holy shit, this is real boxing. And I think that the world wanted to see that. The world wanted to see Jake Paul get out there and maybe on a small percentage that Jake Paul maybe could win. Maybe. Now, Canelo obviously would be like a 95% favorite in that fight, maybe 99%, whatever. But at the end of the day, Jake Paul, being the size that he is, the magnitude, he's got a heavy hand, might have an opportunity to do some things. So I'm looking at it going, why not just give him an opportunity? Because he's bringing paydays. And Alex, I agree. I agree to start from the ground up, but here's the problem. People from the ground up are not bringing any money. So Jake Paul is bringing money. The whole point of boxing when you grow up, the whole point of playing football, the whole part of playing baseball is you want to get to the point where you're making money. You enjoy the game. You play for free as a kid. You go to high school. You play for free. You go to college. You get a scholarship. Sometimes you walk on. You do all these things that you may or not really want to do. But at the end of the day, people, at the end of the day, the end of the road is money. Like the end of the road is how can I get paid money, right? Let's be honest. People aren't going to go out there and just be boxing just for no reason. People are trying to get money. So if I'm Canelo and I get it, I get like the whole point. It's like, hey, maybe if I'm Canelo, I should, go fight Crawford because that's a real fight. That's a real fight. But at the end of the day, why would you actually want to get out there and skip a fight that's going to make you $100 million? And I'm not saying he won't get it from Terrence Crawford. I'm not saying he won't get paid for Terrence Crawford. I'm just saying beat Jake Paul and then fight Crawford. Or maybe fight Crawford and then fight Jake Paul. But the payday is better right now. If Canelo gets beat by Crawford, the payday is not going to be the same. If he gets beat by Crawford, people are going to want to watch the fight, but it won't be the freaking crazy shit that it's right now. Now, if he beats Crawford and then maybe later fights Jake Paul, I can see that too, right? Watch it live right now. Smack that like button right now. I'm just saying right now. What else you guys got to see right now in the building? Tracy said, "Oh, don't tell him that Devon, his head will swell." PBS, or let's see, OBS said, "I like your eye color." Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Subscribe. I appreciate you being here. Alex, he is smart, but he doesn't deserve the fight. Give him Tank or Ryan. That's true too. I like what Alex is saying right now too, because you can say, you know what? Ryan Garcia fight Jake Paul. Weight limit, the weight starts to become a factor, right? The weight's a factor in that position. Tank, side, it's a different kind of situation, obviously. For boxing, it gets tougher in the size you are to make it work. I personally would love to see the Ryan Garcia and Tank fight rematch. I would love to see that fight. Who has a fight they would want to see in the live stream right now? Drop your fight now that you would want to see. I'm saying right now, I would personally want to see that. Pitbull Mama gifted a membership. We appreciate that. Pitbull Mama in the building. Shimbo Slice got a membership. Was in the building yesterday. We appreciate that. Another member's coming to the Mesa Mob. We appreciate that. We know we're hitting different topics today. We're talking boxing. We don't really talk boxing that much. When we do live fights, live UFC, live pay-per-view, all that, live days in, it goes crazy on here. We know that. But YouTube always has a problem with it and removes it. So that's why we haven't been doing that. And with the NFL, it's like, oh my God, we did that. We shouldn't did that, XYZ, whatever. But at the end of the day, we got another member. We have another membership that's going to go out in just 1 second. I will do one as well as we get ready because I always match it right there. So I'm going to drop membership in the chat right now for whoever wants to join the freaking Mason Mob. We got one more member that just went out to the building right now. Everybody in the chat right now, Canelo or Jake Paul, because they're trying to reschedule this fight. Who would win the fight, Canelo or Jake Paul? Everybody just put Jake Paul or put Canelo. Drop it in the chat right now. I just want to see what you guys really think. Who would win the fight today? If they fought today, who would win? Lisa, how you feeling? Welcome to the live stream. We greatly appreciate you. In the Mason Mob and Pimple Mama, thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that. In the live stream real quick, I just want to see what your thoughts are before we get off the live stream today. Canelo or Jake Paul? Who would win in a fight? I think more important in your career, you get to the point where you're going to eventually stop fighting. You might as well get paid. You might as well go get paid. And Canelo's going to get paid from Terrence Crawford. I know that. But imagine the freaking shit that Jake Paul would do for this fight. Jake Paul will probably give up. Yeah, Jake Paul would probably give up if he could 80% of the fight, of his money, just to get the fight. That's someone who's desperate to get a real fighter. People, for some reason, do not want to take that Jake Paul fight. Mike Tyson took the fight just because he knew it was going to be an opportunity. I kind of think that was kind of embarrassing. That was a little embarrassing for boxing. Let's be honest. The Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight, that was kind of like an embarrassment for boxing. I'm not going to lie. Watching the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight was kind of like, that was bothersome a little bit, right? You're watching Mike Tyson start to get a little beat up a little bit, and Jake Paul wasn't really trying to knock him out. And it was like, are you guys fighting or not? And we're paying to watch it, and Netflix was buffering. Did you guys watch? Did anybody watch the Mike Tyson fight, and was it buffering for you, yes or no? Mine was like spinning and then stopping, and I couldn't see shit. And I'm like, okay. And I'll rewind it, and then it would, because you can go back and watch it again. People were like, doesn't matter if it buffers because you could rewind it anyway. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to rewind it. I want to watch the fight live. I don't want to keep on the fight's buffering. It was a pain in the ass. Like, you guys saw what was going on if you watched the fight. It was like you're watching, all of a sudden you're into it, and it's like, oh, I'm stuck. I see a fight. I see a punch happening, but the shit is stuck right now. And in the mid throw, right? So we need one more like to hit 10. Everybody right now in the building, double tap that screen, hit that like button right now. We're talking Canelo, we're talking Mike, Canelo, we're talking Jake Paul. What I want to say is, people that hate on Jake Paul don't like Jake Paul. I understand why they don't. I understand why they do. But there's a lot less people in the world that are willing to do what Jake Paul has done. And that is why I'm giving him my ultimate, my grades. Like, I'm giving him, wow, I'm impressed with what you've done. I really think you've done excellent when it comes to teaching someone, hey, get up and do it. Whether you're in boxing, whether you're in business, whether you want to start a new company, like you're just getting started, whether you want to become an aspiring fighter, whether you want to be a football player, whether you want to be a baseball player. Like he literally was like, yo, go for the stars. Like that's what he does, everything he does. So it's impressive from that perspective to see him actually do that. You know, do you guys agree with that? Put a Y in the chat right now if you guys agree with that at least. I'm just saying, I'm looking at him going, where do you see someone who's going to do that? Where do you see someone who's going to get out there and just ball out and go for their dreams and their passion and get to the sport? And not to mention risk getting knocked the hell out, right? Like Jake, he's not going out there fighting just nobody. Tommy Fury, is Tommy Fury that damn good? Maybe not, but he's a decent fighter. I mean, is he the greatest of all time? No. But I think Jake Paul put him a fight. No, I mean, a lot of people would say Jake Paul won that fight. So when I'm looking at the whole grand scheme of things and I'm evaluating what he's brought to the sport of boxing, he's brought massive opportunities for people to get paid. He's brought opportunities for those people to create their own thing. And then the UFC, he put Dana White on there to say, come on, Dana White, give these people some freaking health care. Like he's reaching out, like going above and beyond to do things that arguably, you know, if you think about it, arguably are top of the chain. Like regardless of winning, regardless of losing, regardless of who he's fighting, he's doing things, bringing people money and fights and opportunities. And I think a lot of these other fighters were focused on them. Jake Paul was focused on creating something and then giving back to the fight game. And so they're saying Jake Paul is the face of boxing. Is he the face of boxing? Now, you got to be honest. I don't know how you're feeling. I don't know a right or wrong answer here. Is Jake Paul the face of boxing? Now, when I say this, obviously, I'm not saying he's the best fighter. I'm just saying when you think boxing, obviously people, would argue and say the Mayweathers of the world, the Canelos of the world, the Pacquiaos of the world. You just go back in time. These people have been the real faces of boxing, right? Is Jake Paul becoming the face of boxing because of what he can do for people, or is that a bunch of BS? Vaughn said that would be talking crazy. Vaughn said there's no way Jake Paul can be the face of boxing. What do you guys think in the last year? Now, I know we don't talk about fighting here that much. We don't talk about boxing here that much. We don't go into, but when I think about the reality, when I think about the face of boxing, I look at someone and I go, is he the best fighter? No. Has he been beaten a lot? No. I mean, so got to give him a chance, a test. But to be the face of boxing, when you think boxing in your mind, if you go back a couple of years ago, Jake Paul wasn't even in your mind. It wasn't even in your mind. But now when you think boxing, when you hear boxing, you start thinking of boxers. Jake Paul is starting to surface in people's minds now. That's all I'm saying. You're starting to think about it a little bit more, like Jake Paul, boxer. Before it was like, oh, Jake Paul, you're supposed to be an aspiring boxer. Now it's like Jake Paul's a boxer. The face of boxing would have to be, Ryan Garcia would arguably be in there somewhere, right? Canelo, Ryan Garcia. Who's the face of boxing in the chat right now? Who would you actually think? Vaughn said Tank. Yeah, Tank. But do you think Tank? When you think boxing, do you think Tank right away? These are the questions. Tank is definitely in there for sure. But you got Tank. You got Ryan Garcia, right? You got Canelo, right? It was back in the day, it was like Mayweather. If you think boxing, you thought Mayweather. Or back in the day, way back in the day, you thought Mike Tyson. Now you're thinking the fighters that we're kind of seeing fight more. Like Jake Paul puts on the show, fights a lot. Canelo fought recently, is fighting again. Tank fought, won a lot of times, obviously. Ryan Garcia won, right? Putting people down. Ryan Garcia, Tank, Canelo, those are what we think about right now. The heavyweight boxing, the world's kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. But when I look at the grand scheme of things, arguably, we gotta think for a second and go, Jake Paul is bringing the money. Like, if I got to go fight right now, I'm going to go where someone's going to pay me the money. Jake Paul's paying the money. Jake Paul's promotion, his company is putting it together. He has connections. Like I said, with DAZN, it was pay-per-view. Then it was DAZN. Now it's Netflix. Now it's whatever. Like, he's bringing those opportunities. And if you want to say the face of boxing is not him, then you have to say something around the lines of financials, promotions of boxing. Jake Paul is the promotions of boxing. Jake Paul is something of boxing at this point, and it might be something along the lines of that. That's all I'm saying. People watching the live stream, I know a lot of people are going to say, watching Jake Paul. And when I Googled his fights, for some reason, I Google, if I fight, who did, real quick, while you guys are watching, who did Jake Paul fight? Look at this for a second. All right. Tyron Woodley, right? He knocked out Tyron Woodley. Now, Tyron Woodley was a champion. You're talking a champion in MMA, in UFC. Like Tyron Woodley was a beast. Not in boxing. Got his ass knocked out, right? Ben Askren, another one, got his ass knocked out. Anderson Silva, another one, got his ass knocked out. Nate Diaz, another one, got his ass knocked out. Mike Perry, another one, got his ass knocked out. And we can keep on going. Nate Robinson, who was a small basketball player, we're not going to count that one. But we will count Ryan Borland. Like, we will count fights like this. Tyron Woodley, who was a real fighter. People are like, he wasn't a boxer. Yeah, but Tyron Woodley was a freaking legend. And Tyron Woodley, Anderson, these are people that arguably were big time in their specific sport. So I'm not going on here saying that Jake Paul has knocked out the best boxers of all time, but he wasn't watching boxing. And if you're just getting into the sport and you're new to the sport, you're probably not going to knock out Tyron Woodley. People that are new to boxing are not going to knock out Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, and Mike Perry all right away. So him to do that was pretty damn strong, I'd say. How about this? Does that mean that UFC fighters are nowhere near the talent level of boxers? Is that true? If you put any UFC fighter into the boxing ring, are they going to get their ass knocked out? It's a different kind of fight, right? Now, if you put Jake Paul in bare knuckle or Jake Paul into UFC or Jake Paul in MMA and Jake Paul had to fight Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, and Mike Perry in UFC, that would be a whole different situation. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. If they had to go in there and fight in UFC, which, by the way, Jake Paul has made it very clear that he would fight in MMA and he would fight in UFC. That is going to make $500 million. If Jake Paul gets in the ring and he fights UFC or he fights freaking MMA and he gets in the ring and he were to fight any of those people, even Mike Perry, Nate Diaz, in UFC, bare knuckle, $500 million payday if they do it right. I'm telling you right now, people want to see Jake Paul get knocked out. If they put Jake Paul into a one-fight contract in UFC to fight Nate Diaz would be the ultimate. I think there's better fighters that will give Jake Paul even a tougher test. But I'm just saying, Nate Diaz in UFC, in MMA, that would be the ultimate shit to watch. Who would win UFC fight, guys? Who would win UFC right now? Nate Diaz or Jake Paul? In UFC, in the octagon, in MMA, who would win that fight? Jake Paul or Nate Diaz? Like, that would be the fight to watch. People that know watch fighting, boxing, whatever, watch UFC, watch MMA. That would be the ultimate shit to watch. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, I agree, Vaughn. We haven't seen UFC fighter do shit. Like, let's be honest. We haven't seen a UFC fighter get in the ring and do shit versus a boxer. Ever. I haven't seen it. And when I look at boxing, I bet you this, though. Take a boxer and put him into the damn octagon. Shit's going to get real because they're going to get taken down on the canvas. They're going to get elbowed. They're going to get put in all these. Look, forget the submissions, though. We can't do submissions. It's got to be a fight. We don't want to do Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz and you can get a tap out. That won't be. It's got to be a fight. Forget the tap out shit. It's got to be a fight. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz in a fight, a real fight in the ring. That's what we want to see. Bruno coming into the chat. How you feeling? Oi, hola. What we speaking out there? Portuguese, Spanish, coming to the live stream right now. Brazil, where are you based? We're talking Jake Paul. We're fighting Canelo or talking Canelo. This was a conversation we had to have today because people are like, we talk about NFL every day. We talk about Trump. We talk about what's going on in our country. We had to come in real quick today and talk about some shit. Clever Knight said it's because he got a better deal with Ryan this season. Yeah, look, I get it. Sorry, I couldn't see that at first. I get it. He got a better deal. I understand the deal. But when you sign a contract, that's your contract. Like, live and die by it. Get the fight, and go to the next one. If he can get out there, if Canelo can get out there and just fight, if Canelo can get out there and just fight Jake Paul, and if he won and worked him a little bit and worked on his moves, whatever, worked on his jabs, his hooks, his uppercuts, worked on his ring game, he can still fight Terence Crawford after. Like, he could just get a little workout in there and then get out there and fight. I'm just saying, I would like to see this fight because this was something that would sell crazy. Don't get me wrong, Canelo Crawford's going to sell a lot. Canelo Crawford, that fight is going to sell crazy. I get it. It's big for the sport of boxing. You don't get this pity pat shit like Mike Tyson, Jake Paul pity pat shit. Yeah, but let me tell you something. Canelo, Jake Paul was not going to be a pity pat shit. Jake Paul, Canelo was going to be a fight. Jake Paul was going to try to win. Canelo's going to try to win. Mike Tyson was just trying to put on a show and get out the ring and get paid. And it was like, I'll fight Logan Paul after. It was like, come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Like, you embarrassed boxing with that and then call out Logan Paul and say, I'll fight you next. It was like, come on, you really crushed the sport of boxing with that. I wasn't a real fan of that. That was kind of embarrassing, let's be honest. But when I look at this, I'll leave you guys with this. I just mentioned this, people coming to the live stream. Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, Mike Perry. Obviously, Nate Robinson, I didn't really count that. It was kind of Ryan Borland. You know, we got beat by Tommy Fury. But at the end of the day, it's about how much money you're bringing. You'll fight your neighbor if the money's right. Forget who the neighbor is. Hey, you fight your neighbor who's been fighting for a long time and you get $50 million. Or you fight Jake Paul and you get $200 million. You're like, I'll take the Jake Paul fight. Why? Because it's about payday. So that's all I'm saying. Anyone coming to live stream today, talking about some interesting conversation. I know some people out here. Roger said, can we do a show about Caitlin Clark? You know what? We actually have some stuff lined up for some women's sports conversation because we're talking about WNBA. We're talking about actually women fighting men in the ring, transgender situation. We're going to have that conversation as well and tie that all in with Caitlin Clark because I think it's important to actually do talk about some of that. That is actually an important topic that people would love. And we're going to try to tie that up with talking about how great women athletes can be and then what it's like when women have to face men in their sports, respective sports. So we are going to do that. We're going to call some people in. We're going to call some girls actually into the live stream. And I've been in contact with some of them via social media. So we're going to call some of them to the show. As you know, guys, we're on our mobile device right now doing some stuff. And yeah, people, I will close that poll here right now. And you know what it is? People come to the chat right now. Not a lot of people are coming and voting and talking about this because this fight is kind of like, it's not happening. If we were talking about this when it was happening, a lot of people were talking about it. But right now, I just want to, what's the reality of why he would back out the fight? That's the real situation. I mean, most people put not worth the time. So appreciate you guys there. We're live every day, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock. We usually go 10 to 11. Getting down here a little bit early. Got some stuff to do in the studio, some work we got to get done. But I will tell you this. Tomorrow we have a big-time show coming up. Back to some NFL conversations. Some big-time trades are going to start happening. Super Bowl is over. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, dominated the Chiefs. We saw that in some wild fashion. Eagles were just balling. Obviously, the Chiefs had no freaking shot. Patrick Mahomes is like, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, you're stunned. Xavier Worthy's like, still balling, but was like, what's going on? The Eagles were balling. I never seen a defense play that damn good in my life. I've never seen the defense play that good ever. Literally, it was like JV versus varsity out there. And the offensive line, the Chiefs had no answer for it. So appreciate you guys. I'm signing off right now. You guys are great. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the show. We got a lot of people coming on here. It is going to be great. I'm going to love it. Lisa, I'm always late. Pacific time for me. Lisa, we got to get you in earlier. We're signing off right now. I know we might be moving the show to 12 o'clock, depending on the sponsor for our studio that we're building in downtown Miami. If, in fact, we get that and they want us to move to 12 o'clock, it will benefit you because it will be, obviously a little bit easier for you to wake up and jump in. Have your coffee, guys. Have your coffee today. It's hump day. Tomorrow's Thursday. We're cruising through the week. It's going to be Thursday. Friday, we're back to the weekend, guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. I appreciate all you guys coming to the live stream. You guys are wonderful. You guys make this great. Good days, bad days, awesome days. Guys, be safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And remember, I'm live every day on social media. I'm live on TikTok. I'm live. If you're on TikTok, follow me on there. Damn it, I'm posting every single day. Instagram, I'm on there, Twitter, everywhere. Go on Brandon Mason Show. And listen, everybody watching this right now, if you have Instagram, go on Instagram, type in my Brandon Mason Show. In the profile, it says Mason Mob. You can join that on Instagram for free. You go on there on Instagram. We have a group chat in there. And we are communicating every single day in there. I'm going to start putting a lot of stuff in there for you guys to also participate. So make sure you guys get your butts in there on Instagram. Brad Mason Show. Love all you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Remember, leave a message on the show. I will see you guys. Be safe and have a great